This is MaryBeth Svatek. She's a hypnotherapist and life coach. She has an MA in psychology. She's worked extensively as a therapist and counselor. And I teach Spirit Releasement Therapy.
Yes.
That's something that I think has been really coming to the forefront more and more in recent years. And it's
Yes.
something that's come into your awareness recently. So can you tell us a bit about,
Yes.
your take on Spirit Releasement Therapy?
Well, I actually love it. About 2 months ago, a woman came to me and I talked to her on the phone a few times. She's like, my life is a mess and I've been sick for years and so I really expected this completely frazzled older woman to come in. And so the day that she came, it was a very beautiful, well put together woman in her mid 60s. And as we were sitting here in the office and I was talking to her, I feeling like there's more than one person in there, and I'm not so sure that I want to take this on because I'm not sure that I know how to deal with this. But what was funny, one of the signs that I saw was that when she would start to tell me something, her mouth would move this way, then it would pull this way to tell me something else. And then she'd say, I'm sorry, there's so many voices in here talking. And I would say, are they audible? And she'd say, no, it's just noisy. It's been noisy. And so one of the things that she had cued me in, but I still didn't know. And I'll kind of get to my really enlightenment, thanks to you, Mark. She had, in a year period, in her 20s, had 4 family members die in a year suddenly. One was a younger brother with 2 other people who were hit while they were standing on the side of the road by a drunk driver. And there were some other family members. So I wasn't sure, though, what I was seeing. Like, am I seeing something demonic or what? I didn't know if I wanted to deal with it. And it wasn't until the end of the session. And my husband passed a year ago, September, unexpectedly. We had bought our house a year and a half before, and we had put in hardwoods all through the house, except this section, which is my office and family room. And so we were looking for the right kind of wood to make sure that we did the right thing. 2 days later, she was my client. I did not tell her that I just put that floor down. At the end of the session, she goes, so what does your husband think about you doing hypnotherapy? I said, well, actually, he was very, very supportive, but he passed away unexpectedly in September. And all of a sudden, her eyes just like shifted and she looked over my head and she goes, oh, he's okay. He's fine. He's fine. And he loves the floors. And that is exactly what he would have said. And so when she said that, then it all of a sudden, I'm like, she's a channeler and she doesn't know it. And this is what's causing her illness and everything. So I felt a little bit like, okay, I can handle this. I can do this. I'm not sure how. So I asked her if she was a channeler and she said, no, I think my ex-husband always told me I'm crazy. And I think it's just me. It's what's in my head. And so I said, well, and I told her about the floors. I said, that's exactly what he would have said. So she just breathed a big sigh of relief and said, I'm so happy that you're willing, because I've asked other counselors if they thought this could be that I could have this gift, and they have just shut me down like I'm crazy and put me on medication. I said, I think, I'm not sure, but I believe if a spirit sees it, they can get in there and talk to you, then it's like being on a boat waving, and all the other spirits who are looking to communicate show up too. And so I said, what we need to do is somehow release and clear all this out and shut these portals so that if a spirit wants to talk to you, they can come and tap you on the shoulder. And then you can look over and decide, do you have the energy right now? Because they're robbing your energy. Is this something you can deal with? So we agreed that that would be what we would focus on. Well, she left, and then I'm like, what did I just commit to? And it happened that my credentials were up and I needed to get my continuing education classes. And I've taken a lot of nothing bomb online courses that people offer. are big on the front end. I did find Mark's courses on Udemy, and I just happened to see this spirit releasement, and I said, well, this is what I need, and I hope it's not a big nothing bomb. And I'm telling you, it is like, I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be, I'll spend 6-7 hours. No, it took me a couple weeks because it was so good and so packed with information that, and a lot of it validated like the signs of what you see with spiritual releasement. Like he goes through everything. So I felt like it's that classic when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I felt like through this whole thing, I was coached through the whole thing. And so we've gotten through that part. And now what we're doing is getting her comfortable in that modality. You know, I said, if you don't want it, we can close the portals. But if it's something that you feel is a gift, and that I'll back up a little, because I went in counseling for anxiety as a teenager. And a lot of it was because I did have psychic abilities, and there were things I would know and premonitions that came true, and it scared me. And I went through hypnotherapy, and he said, do you want to develop this? And I said, no, I want to shut it down. And I really regret that, but I didn't know. I thought it was demonic or something. And it was really a gift that runs in my family. And so that's what we're working on with her. So I'm taking actually I've taken past life regressions in school. The classes, I've done many of them on people, but I'm doing Mark's and learning even more. Ever since I've taken the training, then it's like I'm attracting those people.
Yeah, and that's interesting. So you've got a background talent and ability that you had, but suppressed, which a lot of people do.
Yes.
And then once a client, and you didn't seek out SRT, a client just spontaneously brought it to you, and then you spontaneously, luckily, coincidentally found training, which was mine, and then that gave you the ability to work through it. And so this is really what I find. So a lot of people think, wow, the spirit releasement therapy, you know, she went off the deep end when she got into hypnotherapy. Now she's really lost it by getting into SRT. But what I find is there's an evolution of consciousness and development where more people are being attracted to this or having this present to them. And then as MaryBeth says, as if it's something that you can either decide, I don't want to deal with this. It is, but what the big thing there to do is to not shut it down and diagnose them as crazy.
Exactly. Yes. If you can't deal with it, send them to somebody who can. And that's what I was thinking is, I knew that she needed help. And I had that moment of having to decide, but I knew that if I sent her to someone, it was going to be somebody that could address that and not someone that was going to put her on medication.
Spirit releasement therapy, I think it's useful to study just so you know what it is and isn't. Because there are some clients who may have psychiatric illnesses, and not everything is spirit releasement therapy, by the way. And I'm very clear about that in my courses.
Yes.
So just because, you know, everybody that thinks they see a spirit or whatever, sometimes they do need some sort of medication and conventional treatment. But
in all my years, when I worked at the mission, we did see some scary things, but they were people on medication. They were frustrated. They were beaten down.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, I was always like, kind of let the guys handle this. I'll stand, you know, I'm the police caller, you know.
Yeah.
But it's rare, but I do believe that a sign of the times is we will see more of this type of thing. And I think that it's important for every therapist, especially holistic, to really decide. I recommend Mark's training if you're interested, but to really make that decision, because if you haven't run into it, chances you will.